Hello, everybody. We are live. Oop, hit the wrong button. There we go. Everybody like a close up of my hand? I'm here. I'm here. So we are live for the first ever 7-minute stories live. So new, I didn't have the chance to do any nice little artwork or anything around here. The picture, I actually did it at the very last minute. So go ahead and say hello if you can hear me. I see there's a couple people in the chat already. Yeah, I was not going to do this live, to be honest with you, but Matt convinced me otherwise. So let's see here. Oh, okay. Wave or something if you can hear me. I don't see any activity right now. StreamYard might be giving me an issue. There we go. Can anybody hear me? Hello? I know there's a little bit of delay, so let's see. I see our guest Matt is here. I haven't let him in yet. So for only 7 minutes. Yep, that's the whole idea, Paul. It's going to be tough. Oh, Joe is here. I see that. Master and Madam are here. Yes, Matt Woods, everybody. Matt Woods. I know it's not beer, but it's Thursday night. So before we get started, what I'm going to do, what did I do on my sheet? Hold on one moment. What did I do with it? You gotta love live. Oh, that's not it. Uh-oh. Dope Comics is here. Hello. Here we go. Okay, before we get started with our guest of honor on the first ever 7-minute stories live, because I didn't have my recorded video play this week, I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to a couple quick people who did the hashtag challenge on the last video. And those channels are White Mojo Wolf, Collecting with Durs, Where'd You Get That, Zach's Collections, Chris Bigger, Brian LCS, Main Event Comics and Wrestling, and Doug Bratton. Yes, all those people successfully left a comment with the hashtag on my last recorded video. So if you are watching this, and if you leave a comment, hashtag Matt Woods, I think I've used Matt's name before, but I'll allow it again. If you use hashtag Matt Woods, you will get a shout out on my next recorded video, which is technically already recorded. So, oh, Doug Smash, thank you very much. I tell people don't smash the like button, only because if you're like me and you watch it primarily on your phone, you might break it. So I like to say tickle it, massage it, flick it. But if you insist on smashing, then go right ahead. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest of honor, Woods. Matt, how are you, sir?
Phil, I am so excited to be on here, buddy. But I have a couple questions for you, okay?
Oh, one, questions before questions.
Oh, yeah, we got a lot of questions here. We're going to have fun tonight, man. Anyhow, you said, Matt, you can't Matt Woods on a Thursday? Brother, have you never been to college and remember Thirsty Thursday? Oh. That was the best night of the week.
College, we had Thirsty Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Absolutely. But any night can be a good night. In fact, it's Thursday. We're here. So we're going to have a great time, Phil.
And I have to say, anytime, no, the timer hasn't started yet, Psychedelic. As soon as I start the questions, I'm going to start the timer. I'm also going to give Matt a warning as the time goes by, just to make him a little tense here.
Phil, here's the thing. You know me. You know I like to talk. How am I going to limit it to 7 minutes?
That is the challenge.
Ooh, and I'll bring out a little professionalism today, you know?
I'll say this. Matt is the first guest, and actually doing this live was his idea. So we're gonna when I have time, make some artwork. What I'll call it the Hall of Fame, and Matt's name is going to be the first one on there.
That's actually a pretty big honor. But you do a great job with your Saturday morning live stream. It's always fun to watch. You got a lot of people in the chat talking it up. So you need to be doing more of these live streams with guests and do some collaborations.
Well, I'll say this. Saturday, I give 100% of the credit to the coffee, which is sometimes makes it more interesting. I can't do the coffee tonight or else I'll be up until Saturday. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and give Matt 7 minutes to tell us about his comic book collecting history. I'm going to, again, keep saying, hey, you've got 1 minute has passed by, 2 minutes, just to spice it up a little bit. And then maybe if we have a couple extra minutes, we'll get some questions from the chat and go from there. So with that, Matt Woods, are you ready?
I don't know if I'm ready, but I think it's going to happen whether I like it or not.
That's what she said. Oh, that sounds bad.
Woo, that does. That does.
Yeah. All right. So on that note, let's go ahead and start now.
All right. So I'm telling my origin story. Is that what we're doing here?
Story of your collection. Yep.
Woo. Okay. We're going to go back in time. We're going to do a Mike Myers, Dana Carey. Back in time. If anyone remembers SNL from the early 90s, you'll know what I'm saying. Anyhow, I remember watching the movie Conan the Barbarian. It came out on HBO. It was probably 83. I don't know. I was in first grade. Anyhow, fast forward about a year. I love the movie, okay? But fast forward about a year. My mother says, hey, Matt, you want a comic book subscription? Now, honestly, Phil, I really wasn't a big comic book guy. There were comic books in my house growing up, but they were like Bugs Bunny, Richie Rich, and they weren't really like collectibles. There was always books, and I don't think they ever lasted in my house. They weren't like collected. They were read, thrown away, that type of thing. Well, anyhow, I could look at Spider-Man, I could have subscribed to Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Almost wanted Spider-Man. X-Men was another option. I love the X-Men, and I almost wanted the X-Men, but then I've heard about Conan. I'm like, whoa, you mean like the barbarian that like slashes people left and right? I'm like, yes, Mom, I need more death and gore and blood, okay? Let's get to violence, Mom. I was like 8 years old, maybe 7. I'm not really sure. So my mother subscribed me to all kinds of violence whenever I got that Conan the Barbarian comic. Now, keep in mind, it was a good comic. Not necessarily all violent, but this book, which was gifted to me by the community through the great 11 Bravo, okay? This is the very first comic book I ever got. This was graded by EGS Comics, and it's awesome looking slab. I love the ad in the back, Death Star comic book.
2 minutes.
But 2 minutes, in or left?
In.
Woo, okay, so thanks for the warning, Phil. All right. So anyhow, honestly, you could just look at this cover. This Ernie Chan, amazing cover on this. I love this. I love the orange background. The story was, okay. I didn't hate it. I probably read it 20 times. But by the time that subscription had ended a year later, I was absolutely hooked. I loved reading the comic book. And I genuinely looked forward to when it came in this brown like envelope type of thing, sleeve basically, that went around a comic book. I look forward to it every month when it came in the mail. Whenever I say I collected them, I just didn't throw them away is what I did. So I had them. Now, honestly, I moved on with my life. That subscription ran out and I was 8 years old. I didn't know I could renew a subscription. I didn't know any of that stuff. I just enjoyed reading
3 minutes.
Whew, you're killing me, brother. Killing me. Okay. We're getting to it pretty good. So honestly, I go on in my life, I'm playing Little League baseball and I'm playing high school basketball and I'm just living a normal life, working during the summers and all that good stuff. But I ended up running into these comic books when I was a senior in high school, and I read them. And I'm not going to lie to you, I never looked down upon comic books. I always appreciated the media. But I thought comic books were for kids, okay? Like pretty much everybody. I read these as a senior in high school. And there was a storyline that ended, or forgive me, the storyline didn't end. The subscription I had ended in the middle of a storyline. And I remember reading these 12 books, and I was like, you know what? I don't care if they're comic books. This is a really good story. I would love to know how this story ends. And it
4
was
minutes.
written by Chris Priest, okay, who at the time went by the name of Jim Owsley. Fabulous writer, very underrated writer, in all honesty. So, anyhow, I go off after high school. Well, let me backtrack. Where I lived, it was a small town. There was no LCSs, nothing like that. I had no clue where to buy these old comic books that I wanted to continue reading. After high school, I go off active duty Air Force, and I even remember I used to buy a comic book every now and then because they would sell them on base. But again, they weren't collectibles. I'd read them, toss them away. They were fun reads. I was in college after active duty Air Force, and my brother, he's like, hey, Matt, I have all these old comic books of yours. Do you want these? How much time do I have, Phil?
4:50.
Okay, I'm doing all right here. Okay.
Through.
So my brother, he shows me, hey, I have these old comic books of yours. Do you want them? And I'm like,
5 minutes.
those are those old Conan books. So I was probably 25 years old at this time. And again, that statement went through my head. I might have been 26, 27. I'm like, I don't care that these are, quote, comic books. This is a darn good story. I wanted to know how it ended. Well, my college roommate actually collected comic books. And I was like, hey, dude, where do I find these old comics? He goes, oh, shoot, dude. Go on to eBay and just type in Conan comic book lot.
5:30.
Boom. Okay. This world of eBay and not debt, but loss of money opens up to me because eBay can really drain your funds in a hurry because there's pretty much whatever you want on that website platform. But I was able to find that storyline. I finished it. But I'm like, this is really good. So I wanted to read more. And
1
I kept
minute
reading
left.
more. I eventually, when I was in college, I ended up getting the whole run of Conan the Barbarian. Couldn't believe how good it was. But while I was buying lots, I would get like maybe 1 or 2 copies of Savage Sword of Conan or Conan the King, and I'd read those. And so I was like, I want to read these stories too. I ended up getting all the Conans, whatever. But that is honestly the true story of how I got into comic books. I didn't start out
30
always
seconds.
loving comic books. I kind of came into it as an adult, and I was almost out of college. And in fact, I was past college age because I went military first. So 26, 27, I decided, you know what? I'm going to keep collecting.
15 seconds.
I collect Conan. I collect Spider-Man. I have so
10
many
seconds.
titles out there. But my favorite part of this hobby is not the books.
5,
It's meeting
4,
fabulous people
3,
like Philtastic Phil,
2,
Comics and Art.
1. Boom.
Booyah!
Oh, just made it.
You know what,
Just
brother?
made it.
I'm a professional. You gave me a deadline. I meet that darn thing.
I didn't think you were going to get there. I looked at the clock at 4 minutes and I was like, we're not out of subscriptions yet. I don't know how we're going to get there.
We
yeah.
got there. Yep. It's a whole roundabout story.
I have to say to everybody, your comments are hilarious. I didn't want to read them out loud because I didn't want to, or put them up on the screen. I didn't want to throw Matt off. But yeah.
You know,
Um,
I can't read the comments right now because, well, I'm recording on my phone, so I cannot wait to read these comments. The chat has some of the best comments. Your chat is so active and always commenting on your shows here, Phil.
it is a great chat. I will say that. And that's no doing of mine. Trust me. On another note, this was a great suggestion to do it live. I think this is the easiest interview I've ever done. Just, okay. 10 seconds, 20 seconds.
Time to go. But
okay. So what we're going to do,
you know what, Phil?
Matt,
I got
go
to comment. I got to compliment you. Okay. You are one of these channels that I absolutely love in this community. And I'm so happy to see that you're nominated for a comic book community award. You're not only nominated, you're a finalist with some of the big names out there, Phil. So I'm so happy that people are starting to see the gem that your channel is and the hard work that you put into it, your coffee gloves, and Mrs. Fantastic put into this channel. So kudos to you, brother.
Thank you, Matt. And congratulations on your nomination as well.
I don't know. I think it's a different Matt Woods. I don't think it's me that they voted on.
uh, Paul, yes, this is the first 7-minute interview, but hopefully not the last. This is opened up to everybody in the community. You don't even have to have your own YouTube channel as long as you collect. And I think it'd be awesome if we could do this every week. But I think it's very fitting. I'm going to say that Matt was the first. I didn't get a chance to talk about my. I was going to do when I did my 7-minute video how I got onto YouTube, but I ran out of time. I'm going to do that in a future video, but Matt was integral in that. Matt was actually like probably the first comic book channel I started following regularly. And I was just like, wow, that guy's got a fantastic comic book room. And I could tell, I know a lot of our early messages, I was just asking him about his cabinet setup in the back. My dad tried to make one for me years ago, and it didn't turn out very well. We couldn't fit it into the house. So it's something I've always wanted to duplicate since, but not in this house. That's for the next house. But that's enough of me talking. I want to hear from the chat. Do you have any questions for the pride of Pennsylvania, Mr. Matt Woods? And I'm noting we are in a delay.
You're going to have to pop those questions up because I just can't see a chat right now.
Yeah. So far, no questions, but I could see people are liking your chat, liking your room. Trev
is an epic dude. He's another up-and-coming YouTube channel.
Psychedelic, yeah.
Thank you very much, Paul. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I ended up, whenever I met you, Phil, we met Paul there at Bratton's house.
Yes, I do remember. The first.
That's an awesome dude.
The first comic book garage sale. Oh, yes. Madam, also complimentary room, but we have the first official question. Are you ready?
Uh-oh. I'm terrified, but yes.
And this comes from Master. It's Master and Madam, but I'm going to think it's Master. Is Matt wearing pants?
I'm trying to figure out how to answer this, okay?
Well, Master, do you mean figuratively or literally?
Oh, no, he means literally, okay? He's a wise man. He's one of these guys, okay? I actually am going to tell a little secret. During COVID, okay, I had to do these streams, okay, for work, Zoom meetings, if you will. And I remember one time, I was running a little bit late. I was fully dressed from the waist up. And I was just in a pair of, regular shorts. I wasn't in anything inappropriate. But I was just wearing shorts on the bottom. But I had a suit and tie and all that other good stuff. And he knows that story. So I think that's why he's asking that. But I think a lot of people did that during COVID, during Zoom meetings. I wasn't going to dress up in a full suit. I just had my shirt and tie on up above.
We have another quick question. There was actually, I remember at the beginning of COVID, a newscaster who ran into that same issue, but he was wearing shorts, supposedly. Yeah. We have another question from the great Joe from Anachronic. He got distracted. Can you repeat the entire 7-minute diatribe again? From the top, right. Don't leave anything out.
Bill, get the timer started.
Well, I should know.
I don't think people want to hear that again.
Ken is here. He says hello. Ken, do you have any questions for Matt Woods?
Hey, Ken.
The great Matt Woods.
Stop calling me that, Phil.
It just flows so nicely.
I'm just a punk from down the block.
Here's somebody, this is the first time I met this guy, the Jackson Roykirk. I don't know if you know him.
Yes, I know the Jackson Roykirk.
I was going to say.
Jackson Roykirk is one of the most absolutely awesome human beings you'll ever want to meet. He's from the Big Easy down in New Orleans, and the cat is just smooth as can be. In fact, his voice is amazing. It will absolutely soothe you every time you hear him talk. You're like, dude, I wish I sounded like that. This guy is amazing.
Well, he definitely knows you. And speaking of smooth, he says, don't believe him, Matt always goes commando.
No. Oh. No, Jackson, I do not.
Okay. Here's a question from Joe. Anachronic Comics, also nominated for multiple awards. Seriously, what do you enjoy more, teaching or your military service?
That's a legit good question, Mr. Anachronic Comics. Honestly, that's a question I've pondered many times in my life, okay? Now, I've been in some situations in my military career that I never ever want to go through again. Never want to repeat that. Wish I'd never been there in the first place. But overall, I absolutely love my military career. I met some of the greatest people I ever met, obviously. Greatest people in the world. I've met world leaders. I had presidents call me by my name. President, not like multiple presidents. I've been around the world. I've got to sail the seven seas, seen places I never would have seen. Love the military. But teaching, I get to influence lives. I get to influence our future. And so I don't know which one that I prefer most. I like to think that I can live in both worlds and contribute in both. So that's a tough question, Joe, and one that I've pondered many, many times. It has nothing to do with comic books, but that's a really good question.
That is a good question. Did you ever think of,
Yeah.
I guess, somehow, like, well, I guess you'd have to be I don't know anything about the military, but I guess you'd have to have some sort of formal training to do like a drill instructor, like just a way to mix the two together.
What do you mean by being a drill instructor?
Well, I would think that's the closest thing in the military to teaching. Again, I don't know. Am I wrong on that? Or?
Well, there actually are classes. There are teachers in the military. When you join the military, you don't just go do like Private Ryan or not Private Ryan, Forrest Gump, where my job, do whatever you tell me to do, sir. Like, you actually have jobs. You might be a mechanic. You might be working intelligence. You might be working, on the nuclear reactor in the submarine. Well, you don't just get out of high school and just start doing that. So there actually are formal classes, and there really are teachers in the military. So I would say the closest to teaching would actually be an instructor in the military. A drill instructor, that would be more like a high school football / basketball coach. Like, definitely play a role, a part of the process. But I don't know, I think the correlation between being a drill instructor, which I never was, and being a teacher, I definitely can see a correlation, but it's pretty separated.
I did see one other question. Let me scroll down. In case you guys haven't guessed yet, I always do these on my phone. I don't have a laptop. That's why you just see my giant hand coming into the picture. It's not giant, but
Speaking of giant hands, I want to show off my giant hand.
There you go.
That's how you started the show.
Oh, there you go. That's why. Let's see. From Paul. Also, Matt, are you and Mr. Blaster in the civil engineering division or whatever you call it in the military?
I cannot speak for Master Blaster, but yes, I am currently in a civil engineering unit. When I was in the Army, I was in a combat engineer unit. But I've been around. I've been in the Air Force. I've been in the Army. I was in the infantry as a medic in the infantry. And Air Force as command and control. I've been in a lot of different jobs. Okay, I was a carpenter, and now I'm a training manager.
Well,
I got to wear a lot of hats. Enjoyed my military career. There's always something else out there to experience.
Master says, yes, I am.
I just didn't want to answer for you there, the great Master Blaster.
I wanted to highlight, Madam actually had a very nice statement right before that. Your military experience just enhances your teaching influence.
Well, I'd like to think that you're right there, Madam Blaster. Thank you.
And Paul says he's been in the civil engineering field since 1983.
Nice.
Very nice. Well, those are my questions for Matt Woods, the great Matt Woods, pride of Pennsylvania. And before I decide to end the show, are there any other questions? I see Neil just got here. Yeah, Neil, that's the thing with a 7-minute interview. If you get here a little bit late, you might miss the whole thing. But you can catch it on a replay.
Hey, Neil.
Neil's awesome.
So what books are you on the hunt for, Philtastic?
I wouldn't say I'm actively hunting for anything. Just, baby job. It's,
I was
It's a
gonna
little.
say your life is entering one of the most absolutely awesome phases of anyone's life: fatherhood, parenthood. You've got that young little. Am I allowed to say his name?
Oh yeah.
Okay. You got that young little MT and you're taking care of him. He's less than a year old. And he's absolutely adorable. Enjoy being a parent because right now they're in a cute stage. Is he rolling around yet?
He's starting to. He can go one way, but he can't get back there. He can't get on his stomach from his back. So we're trying.
Oh, it'll happen. It'll
Oh,
happen one day and you'll be shocked that it happened. And then one day he's going to stand up on something, on a piece of furniture. And then the next day he's going to start running across the room. And then you got to keep up from that point on because they never slow down.
Yeah, then we have to put up all the gates and go on lockdown. But yeah, it's kind of funny. All of my friends and I, within the span of about 2 to 3 years, we just all started having kids. Oh,
That's how it happens, man.
Master actually had a comment I'm going to put up here. Any 7 minutes in heaven with Phil tips for the next guest? Any tips?
Any tips? I don't know, man. I have a gift of gab. I can talk, and I know whenever to abbreviate it really quick whenever I'm running at 4.5 minutes, and Phil's worried because I'm still in that subscription I had when I was 7 and 8 years old. You got to learn how to just roll with it.
We covered about 20 years in 2 minutes.
And I feel I did a good job. There was detail in that 2 minutes.
You know what I found? Because it was kind of funny, at least in my case, after I shot it, I was saying to myself, well, I didn't talk about this, I didn't talk about that. But it really kind of helps you focus, which I can go off on tangents if you've watched my Saturday shows, especially with Under Too Much Coffee. So that kind of makes you say, all right, what can I fit in?
Oh, and you always forget something.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, you always forget something.
Jackson Roy Kirk has a question. I was wondering if Matt had shipped the R. Thomas signed Conan #1 to me yet.
Well, you don't see it on the wall right now, do you, Jackson Roy Kirk?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going somewhere.
Oh, we did get a text in. Text question, so you can't see it on the screen. This is from my wife. She's watching upstairs, so that's why she's not in the chat. What's the hardest part of collecting?
The hardest part of collecting. I don't know if it's a hard part of collecting, but there's a reality. You cannot collect everything you want. If you won the Powerball / Mega Millions, whatever, and you didn't care about money, yes, you could collect literally anything you want. But if you have a family, if you have a life, if you have responsibilities and bills, you can't buy Action Comics #1. Amazing Fantasy 15 is getting out of reach. I mean, it really is truly almost out of reach. So the hardest part would just be the acceptance that you have to limit yourself to just getting these grails. You have to start getting creative and figuring out different parts of the hobby to enjoy while collecting. Me, I still always have a pull list. Okay, I always have new books coming in, but sometimes I'm not active trying to get old books. Sometimes I'm going to spend my time pressing comic books, which is a really cool part of the hobby. Sometimes I'm going to be building cabinets, which is another part of the hobby. Sometimes just organizing. I have a big pile of comic books, actually, just off the screen here, that I need to put away. This was about 2 months worth of books that came from LCS in the mail. So I got to put those in my online database, catalog them, and then file them away. And I have them all filed away alphabetically by series, then by number. So the hardest part is just realizing you can't have it all. But that's also a part of the fun because that allows you to discover other aspects of it. And Mrs. Philtastic's awesome husband, he figured out another cool part of the hobby. You get to share your thoughts on YouTube with other people, get to interact, and it can be, your limitations can also be like very enjoyable and open up new worlds for you.
I got to say, now I'm on the second level. I'm in our basement level, I guess. I can hear her nodding from upstairs. When, yeah, you have to know when to limit yourself. Because
There's truth to it.
yeah, I've said
Whenever my son was born, I didn't quit collecting. I didn't quit with the hobby. But honest to Pete, I would get these books in the mail from my LCS, and I might not open them for a year. I was still a collector, if you say, but I wasn't an active collector because there's different priorities in life. And sometimes time management, it took me a while to figure out the time management aspect of being a parent and also being a collector and working multiple jobs. Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm learning, the time management with collecting and parenting and working. I haven't had any time really to sit down and just draw since the baby was born, really. And that's even something like, I'm like, all right, what if I get up like on Saturday at like 6 o'clock and just kind of ease into it? But you got to rest, I guess, at some point too.
Whenever your newborn sleeps, that's whenever you sleep, because they're up all throughout the night. They're up all day long. And there are times like you might even have a free moment. You're just exhausted. You just need to rest, recuperate, and move on with the next day.
Exactly. And I know my wife was asking that question because I've been talking about, I'm in the middle of really going hard at my organization, which really was none prior to that.
Yeah.
So right now I know she's stressing because I've been taking just all the comics I have, bagging them if they needed it, cataloging them. Most of them are in the catalogs already. I was pretty good about that. And then once they're all out, I'm going to finally start filing them. But right now in our home office, I've got, here's a pile of A, here's a pile of B, here's Spider. And I know that she's a neat freak, so it's driving her nuts. And I was like, honey, it's just the process. It's going to get done soon, I promise.
I was where you're at. 2019, I've talked about it on my channel, not in detail, and I probably will never go in super detail, but I had how do I put it? A near-death experience, okay? I got sick, and I ended up coming through it, and I'm, all better now, but it made me reevaluate my life because it took me a few months to recover from this illness that I had. And it wasn't COVID, by the way. It was long before COVID. And it was nothing like that, actually. Anyhow, I told you there might have been years between me opening up my comics. And honestly, it was kind of disorganized. I just put them in long boxes out of order. Years ago, I had them all in your order. But honestly, I probably about tripled my collection by the time that 2019 rolled around. I sat in my upstairs hallway for, I'm not saying 8 hours a day, every day for a month, but it took me about a month to get my collection organized. And that's what I did. I started out with A and then B. And then I literally just started go through long boxes and I'd look for certain characters and then I'd put A's here, B's. It started going quicker and quicker once, especially, I forget, once I got past like D or F or whatever it was, I noticed that the collection, was a lot less. But then even then, I would have 3 long boxes full of A's and then going through those. All right, this is AA, this is AB, just trying to get them in alphabetical order. But once you get that done, Phil, there's a legit satisfaction to knowing your collection's in order. You can find any book you want within minutes. And it's just kind of a cool satisfaction, but it doesn't end there. Because then you get stacks of books, okay? Or I think I was in the LCS a couple weeks ago. I don't go to the LCS as much as I'd like. But, I got a lot here. What you have to do is you have to keep organizing it. And then once you have one long box filled, you got to start sliding books and moving them in the other long boxes. So it's a non-stop process. But man, is it satisfying whenever you can look at that collection and be like, that's all A to Z, buddy.
I got to ask, is that the Sandman facsimile?
That is
okay.
The Sandman facsimile, which is really cool because it even has, all facsimiles, they have the ads, but this is an ode to Doug Bratton because I actually have a low-grade copy or mid-grade copy of Sandman I bought a couple years ago, I don't know, maybe a year ago. 100% because of Doug Bratton.
Yeah, I think all but two of my Sandman comics I bought from Doug at I was going to say Garage Con, but it's the comic book garage sale. Nice
Yes.
Predators, yeah.
I don't know why I'm showing. No idea. Just showing.
Just keep going. There you go.
Yeah, we collect, right? We just enjoy what we collect. Wait, is that Sandman? Yeah, there's another like Sandman thing. Was this free? I don't know what it was.
I was just reading something. At one point, I guess one of the failed Sandman movies that was going to come out and thankfully didn't. Michael Jackson was trying to vie to be Sandman.
I don't know what kind of an actor he is, but I just think there's no way to separate Michael Jackson, the artist, into the actor. That would have been rough because I don't think I could. Like the guy who did Morpheus, I don't even know his name. I believed he was Morpheus. Yeah. Like he did a great job acting, and maybe it was because to me, he's an unknown actor. Someone in chat's going to be like, hey, he was in X, Y, and Z movies, but I've never noticed him. If you would have put Michael Jackson in there, the guy who did Thriller, the guy who did Beat It, I don't know if I could have separated the artist from the actor.
I'm trying to think. I remember when I was a kid years ago watching like The Wiz on Channel 11, but I don't remember him in it enough to, I don't know, make an impression. We did have another comment or question rather come in from Master. Do you have any books at any grading companies now? Have the recent issues have you thinking about future submissions? Okay. Do you have anything at a grading company or any new submissions that you're planning?
Yes, I do have some books. I have, if Joe's still in the chat, he was there whenever I had Roy, the great, you call me the great, I'm just Matt Woods, okay? But anyhow, the true great Roy Thomas, he signed a copy of Savage Tales for me. And it's off the CGC, and it left September 18th, 2021. It's 2022, and I don't know if I'm going to get that book back before 2024. Just because to press a magazine, it used to be like 300 some days, and that was business days. I think now it's down to like 250 business days. But even in grading it, I think it's another 250 grading days, and those are business days. Those aren't weekends, those aren't holidays, those are business days. So I don't expect to get that book back for a while. But the other issues, you're gonna have to wait, Master Blaster, because I got a video coming out about that very same subject, about how I feel about CGC.
I'm happy to hear that. I was going to ask you, when are we going to see more Matt Woods comics videos?
They're coming. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm more than just a YouTube guy, obviously. I'm a real human being. I'm not just a comic book collector. I have other hobbies. I have other interests. But this last year of my life has been extremely, extremely busy. I had an active duty tour in the military, which took me away from the house. I wasn't home. I would drive home, a few hours every weekend, spend a couple of days home, but then I'd be back out Monday through Friday. And that wore me out. And then last year, I've coached basketball for years and years, but I hadn't coached basketball for a couple of years. Well, I was assistant girls basketball coach, which was an absolutely awesome job. I really, truly enjoyed that. But I was busy. I'd work all day long. I'd go do basketball. Then I was doing the military on the weekends. I was running out of time. And then right when basketball season ended, I thought I was going to get a break. And then softball season started. And guess who ended up being a coach then? So I've been absolutely, and plus with the YouTube game and collecting, I kind of got to a point where I was burnt out. And I needed to just recharge. And I knew what I was doing. I was pulling back. So I was pulling back from a lot of my, not work obligations. I mean, I made sure I did my obligations, but the extra work obligations so that I could get my mind recharged and refreshed. And honestly, I think I'm about to that point where I'm ready to get back into it.
Yeah. And it's good to take a break. I don't know about anybody else here, but this started out for fun. I don't know many people who said, I'm going to go on YouTube and have a comic book channel. That's just going to be my job from now on. Like, I don't know anybody who's done that from the get-go.
Nobody.
But yeah, I mean, if you're not having fun doing it, why do it? You know, don't make it a chore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it never got to the point where it wasn't fun for me. But it was like the YouTube was fun. But I just knew that I needed to streamline all my activities. And that was one that was going to take a lot of energy. So I pulled back on YouTube as well as other things.
Yeah. I see Jackson did point out you also have the goats.
I do have the goats, and they keep me busy. Trust me. And then I got a large property, and I had all kinds of home projects this year. I was tearing down buildings. I was cutting down trees. I was putting in drainage in my. I have a decent sized property, and I was working on driveway and working on drainage there. But it was great because I was allowed to be dirty all day long. I'd basically wake up, drink my coffee, get my work clothes on, and go outside and just do whatever needed to get done. Which that was a nice break from teaching and other jobs where you're not you have to think and use your head. Sometimes it's just good to be a jabroni and be a grunt getting dirty.
It's a nice stress release too.
Exactly.
Yeah. I have one more question. I think I'll end the questions here. Again, this is from my wife. What was the first comic you had your child read?
Oh.
Uh-oh, he's stumped.
I cannot remember the issue or whatever, but Marvel used to put out a series, and they were directed towards children, and they were the Marvel Age, and they came out in the early to mid 2000s. And I would read to him Marvel Age Spider-Man, which it did have the bad guys, but it was geared towards children, so it wasn't didn't have grotesque stories or scary stories where Venom was ripping people's faces off or whatever. So I cannot remember, but I would read him. I always read to him whenever he was a child. Even before he could walk, I always made sure that I read to him and just just gave him different worlds that he could explore with his mind. And to this day, he really likes comic books. He's a teenager now, so his interests will ebb and flow, but he does like Batman. He does like Spider-Man, and even if he's not reading the comics, which he does a lot of, he will then be watching YouTube videos of like Comics Explained, and he's always paying attention. Loves the movies, but I truly feel it helped him with his own reading because my kid's a fabulous reader. He reads books that I'm like shocked. He's 16 years old, and the level of reading that he does is quite impressive. And I'm a school teacher, so I know what kids his age are reading, and I know whenever they're reading above their age or punching above their weight. And he definitely does. I hope that reading to him is what helped do that. Or I'm not hoping, but I'd like to think that that's what helped him as much as it did.
Yeah, you know what? It's weird that you mentioned before your son could even walk, you're reading to him. So one day, and I think I put a picture on Instagram. I probably did because what else are you going to do?
Right.
I was holding my son, and look, he's 6 months old, does not understand a whole lot, but I just went to the Marvel Unlimited app, and they had I think it was an alligator Loki, it's supposed to be like a kid's comic, but just made for Marvel Unlimited. And what's kind of interesting, I kind of picked myself because I'm talking to him and he doesn't know what he's looking at. So I'm just kind of describing, okay, yeah, that's Loki. He's Thor's brother and he's Thor threw the hammer, but missed him. Just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of weird how it forces you to, I can't think of what I want to say, but it really forces you to be more critical and detailed of how you're processing what you're reading than if you were just reading a comic by yourself. I don't know. I found that was interesting. Oh, there is one last question. I'm sorry, because it came from Master.
By the way,
And
these are some really great questions. I've
it is.
complimented your chat in the past, and I'm doing it again. They are fantastic.
Well, you know what? I attribute it to this great community
They're
of which.
fantastic.
There you
They're
go.
fantastic.
I attribute it to this great community which you are in part responsible for introducing me to.
Well, I think you introduced yourself. You kicked some doors down and said, "Here I am. I am Phil."
So, Master asks so nicely, I have to let this one in. Is a Conan original art page in your future?
At the right opportunity, at the right price, if the time is right. Yes. One of my favorite artists is Big John Bashima, who had a fabulous run on Conan the Barbarian. In fact, he's well known for many, many works of art. But Conan was what he said was what he was most proud of. If I can come across a legit original art of Big John Bashima at the right price, and finding original art at the right price is not necessarily a easy thing to do. Because there's only one copy of it. You can buy a comic book, and even a low print run is going to have like 300-400 of it. And original art, that's it. There's no more.
I was waiting to see if Master's going to follow up with, well, just so happens I have one.
No, he knows better.
Yeah.
Now I could see that happening, but it would have to be the stars align for that to happen.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, even if it's the right price, I might be saving up money for like a big purchase. My kid going off to college or something. So it's not just the right price; it's the right time too.
Yeah. And I'll say this too, and I attribute this to watching Master and Madam's channels a lot.
Which is a great channel.
Oh, a spectacular channel. My wife loves watching it with me too. But I've been watching it and I've been like, maybe I should start looking to getting some like original pages. And every so often I'll take a look and I was like, no, I'm not original page level yet. Let's work up to that.
Oh, we got some original art here, but this is an amazing OA of Spider-Man right here. And this came to my collection from the great Master Blaster himself.
Wow.
Yeah. When this showed up, I was absolutely blown away. In fact, this is actually Spencer's. It's not mine, but it's still, it's Spider-Man. What more could you ask for? He's got spider sense tingling and everything going on here. So web spinning. So this is just such a really great OA right here. So
now let me ask you, if you were to start getting into original art, would you be, well, you said you like John Buscema. Would you be going for more of the artist or the character?
Oh, that's a tough one. Honestly, I think if you're going for original art, you have to go for the artist. Because sometimes the characters that are being drawn, if you don't like how it's being drawn, you're not going to want it. I can read a comic book that has bad art in it and still enjoy the comic book. But I don't think I could buy original art and not enjoy the art. So I think without a doubt, the artist would have something to do with it. Now, if it was fantastic art, but it was an unknown artist, I could still see myself buying it. But if it was poor art, there would be no reason to buy art if it's poor.
Yeah. Well,
you're an artist, so I'm a complete novice to art. Is what I just said kind of makes sense?
Well, it does. Look, at the end of the day, it's like so many people have said in the community, collect what you love and what you like.
Absolutely.
And, hey, poor art to someone else might be a masterpiece to another person. I've said it before. I'm a huge fan of Mike Del Mundo. I did a whole video about it. There are a lot of people who just don't care for his work. And look, that's their right, and that's my right.
See, I'm a Pittsburgh guy. I don't live in Pittsburgh. I'm couple hours from it, but it's close enough that I can go there anytime I want. And sometimes I do, but Andy Warhol, who was from Pittsburgh, Andy Warhol's museum is in Pittsburgh. I know a lot of people that love his art, but for everyone that loves Andy Warhol, I know as many people that just don't care for it. They don't like the Campbell soup, okay? But whenever I go to that museum, I'm just like awestruck. I don't know what it is about his art, and some of it I think is campy, but it's so darn cool. It's so inventive. And I completely agree with you. What some people don't like, someone else might think is fabulous art.
Yeah. Well, I think we've reached the end of the video. Matt, I think everybody here knows you, but just in case, maybe somebody's going to watch it on a replay. Maybe one of those Russian adult websites that comments every often wants to look at a new video. Where can people find you?
I can be found on YouTube on Matt Woods Comics. No soup for you. I won't say what character does that on Seinfeld show, but I love those episodes. Matt Woods Comics on YouTube and Instagram, Matt_Woods_comics. And I can also be reached there.
Well, thank you very much, Matt. And thanks. First of all, I attribute this idea of going live with this to you. I think it worked out well. I wish I was doing this on a laptop so I could have the little timer up in the corner and so you didn't see my hand every 5 minutes. But hey,
I thought you did great.
Thank you. And how do I unsub from Matt Woods Comics channel? That's from
Jackson.
Jackson.
I bet you want to rage unsub me.
Jackson, it's physically impossible. I may have heard that if you unsub Matt Woods, your phone or your TV, whatever device you're watching on, YouTube will just melt it. That's just how it works. I don't know.
I like to think that's a true statement. But I've rage unsubbed Jackson Roykirk, who has another awesome YouTube channel. And if you guys like Star Trek, sub up the Jackson, and it is the Jackson Roykirk. And he has he has quite a few more subs than I do. So I look up to that man. He does very, very well.
Yeah. And Jackson, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and comment with a link to your channel, either in the live chat or later on. And if you guys do comment, remember to use hashtag Matt Woods to get a shout out on my next video, whether it be recorded or live like this.
Can I hashtag my own name?
You can, yes. That might cause like a little time ribbon or whatever, but
yeah, that's like a paradox. I think that's going to be the end of all time and space as we know it.
Yeah, Paul is right. This is the longest 7 minutes.
Well, hey, Phil, you get me on here, brother. I like to talk. We are going to have a long conversation, but honestly, buddy, you do a very good job with your live streams. And you know what live streams are in a nutshell? They're two or more friends having a conversation about it, especially in the YouTube community, or forgive me, the comic book community. We're having a conversation about things we like. So I like, you're a good friend, Phil. So this has actually been quite enjoyable for me.
I enjoyed it as well. And anybody watching too, if you want to be on my 7-minute stories, message me, get in touch with me, and you too could be in the hot seat, so to speak, with where Matt Woods is now. Thank you again, Matt, and thanks everybody for watching. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your evening. Peace, love, and comics. Take care.